afternoon. Welcome to Semper Fi. I'm your host, Staff Sergeant B. Today's guest is Dick Hooper. Be with him in just a second. Going to quickly go over a couple things that happened on August 26th, some time ago. Back in 1901 in the Army, Maxwell Taylor was a U.S. general and diplomat. He was born as the commanding general of the 8th Army in 1953. He directed UN forces during the latter stages of the Korean War. And then just general information, in 1945, Japanese diplomats boarded the USS Missouri to receive instructions on Japanese surrenders at the end of World War II. And in 1957, the Soviet Union announced that it has successfully tested an intergalactical ballistic missile capable of being fired into any part of the world. And in 1981, Voyager 2 took pictures of Saturn's moon Titan. That's pretty much what happened on August 26th. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce my guest, Dick Hooper, who was in the Air Force. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Of course, I'm like true Americans. I spent 4 years in the service, and you can't thank the servicemen enough. Not saying that because I was in service, but people who are in service and have been in service and sacrifice. You just, when you see one somewhere, you should come up to him and say something, and tell them how you appreciate their, because it's a tough life. It's a pretty tough life. You're away from your loved ones, and of course there's some parties go on too.
We do a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, do a lot of sacrifice. Again, thanks for being here. And for myself, I was in the Air Force 4 years. Just one day at work, a friend of mine, kid of a guy I worked with, of course we were just kids then, 18 years old I guess, been out of high school not long, and we were working and making, our job was to make King Leo stick candy. If you've ever eaten peppermint stick candy or cloves tea, you know what I'm talking about. Also in a candy bar that's big in the South, Goo Goo candy bars.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of Goo Goos. Well, if you watch the Grand Ole Opry, you will hear Goo Goo candy bars. Very good. But anyway, we were just eating lunch, and Larry, friends, so one of us, I might have been myself, I don't know which one of us, said, I don't like this job, And I said, I don't either. I don't want to make candy all my life. And the other one said, well, what do you do? I said, I don't know. Let's join the Air Force. So anyway, we quit, joined the Air Force the next day.
That fast?
That fast, And,
without going over border lines, what year was this?
This was 1960.
All right.
Or this winter of 1960. And we joined, the next day, or it might have been Friday, I don't know what day it was, but anyway, just as soon as we get to the recruiting office, we joined. And I never regretted it. I really liked to serve. I enjoyed the service, enjoyed my 4 years in service. It was good. It was basically peacetime, but you're still there to defend the United States. Not trying to sound noble or anything, but that's your job in the service.
That's what we do.
That's what you do.
Where'd you go to boot camp?
Went to boot camp in San Antonio, Texas, Lackland Air Force Base.
Is that still around?
I guess it's still training camp for Air Force as far as I know. I've never heard any different. And spent, let's see, I believe I was there 8 weeks. I believe eight or 9 weeks was training and boot camp. And again, it was real life, It, like taking an old country boy out of Tennessee, me, and put him down there, and and just. It was good. It's good training. I think anyone can go into service and go through boot camp. I think to come out a better person. They come out a much better person.
Always.
So,
compared to nowadays, how was boot camp back in the '60s? How was they treated you in boot camp?
Did a lot of hollering at you.
Yeah.
They raised your voice.
Did they still have that myth about when you got in trouble you had to peel potatoes, or back in the '60s?
Yeah, you caught KP.
You did.
And normally. I guess, I don't know, I was, you was on the roster, and I guess as it rolled around, you caught your time, but I guess if you screwed up, you
nowadays,
went to the top of the list. You know?
Because nowadays we have what's called mess and maintenance. 2 weeks you
Yeah.
either go on mess duty or you're policing the cutting the grass, painting the rocks white.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Well, I was saying, if it don't move, paint it or something. What is that? I forgot what that is, you know. So,
yeah, pick it up and don't grow.
yeah, pick it up. If it don't move, paint it. So anyway, like I said, if you go through any Air Force, Marines, I know you're Marines or Navy, if you go through boot camp, you come out a better person. You come out, but I did. I felt like
we all do.
Yeah. You learn a lot of discipline, responsibility, and you're responsible for your actions.
Now, upon graduation, what was your, military, in the Marines we call it the MOS, your military occupational status. What was your job?
I went to, once I got out of service, and I went to Biloxi, Mississippi, and some, I don't know if Biloxi, Mississippi at that time was some good party town. But anyway, went to tech school. We got tech school. I was a radar, excuse me, radar operator, learning to be a radar operator, which they called us scope dopes, you know.
Okay.
Called us scope dopes. That's what we were. But it was early defense warning. It was mostly on the stations were on the the coast or coast to the coast, and also we had some airplanes that flew out of Sacramento, California, which had early warning radar on them, and they would go out a couple of 100 miles off coast. Of course, this was during the Cold War.
Right.
The Cold War was winding down some, but it was during the Cold War, and the radar planes, they'd go out about 200 miles off coast and just circle for 8 hours and come back. Your crew would get on the plane. And
now, was that their daily exercise, or to make sure that you can catch them on your sites as well?
Yeah, that was like I was at a stationary radar site, and this was what they call a mobile radar site. They just circled, and of course, the object was to catch any enemy airplanes before it got to the coast. Early warning. That's what they call early warning defense. And like I said, after I got through tech school, and I was, like I said, I was from Tennessee, and my first tour of duty was Tonerpaw, Nevada.
Really went far, didn't you?
Yeah, went to first tour of duty, Tonerpaw, Nevada, in the desert, and it was a great experience. Once I got here, got acclimated. I love the desert and always wanted to come back, and I finally did. So,
is the base in Tonerpaw still there as well? Or?
The base is not there. If you're familiar with Tonerpaw, we only had about 120 people there.
Wow.
The base is where McDonald's over as you're going into town to the left of McDonald's up there beside the mountain. I think now it's mainly either county or Tonerpaw city buildings. When the Air Force moved out, they gave the facility to the county, I guess. So I guess it's a lot of county buildings there and the county municipal, and it's been put to use. Yeah, the buildings are still there, but there's no military people there.
I think they had the base housing still there, and they either sold those to.
They may have. I'm not sure what happened to the base housing, but
I know they're not going to knock down perfectly good buildings
no,
after they put them up.
I have driven through there a few years ago. I just drove around. I was up there on the Saturday and just drove around and brought back a lot of memories. Brought back a lot of memories.
How long were you stationed over there?
Tonerpaw was called kind of semi-remote, so we was only there a year.
Then from there you went
over to California to Beale Air Force Base in California, which again I was in Air Defense Command, and I was there a couple of years, I guess, and they decided it was a SAC base, Strategic Air Command, the B-52 bombers, but we were ADC, Air Defense Command, one squadron on the SAC base. And 1963, I believe, 63, summer of 63, they decided to phase out some of the Air Defense Command stations, so they closed our squadron, and some of the guys that only had 5 or 6 months to go, they'd give them an early out. And I think I had 8 months to go, so they didn't give me an early out. They put me out there building a golf course. So
tough life.
Yeah. So anyway, they wanted to build a golf course on Beale Air Force Base there, and so anyway, had a few weeks before we got our orders, because it was kind of sudden. So they said, all you airmen below the rank of whatever, go out there, and they give us a shovel and an axe, and picking up rocks and the base is there. I mean, the golf course is there now. So anyway, about maybe 10, 12 years ago, I forgot now, I had some relatives lived up in Northern California, and I went up to visit them, and he's my brother, actually, and he's retired Air Force. So I told him, I said, can you get me on the base down there? I want to play that golf course, since I helped build it or started, you know. So anyway.
Should kind of waver.
Yeah. He took me down there, and Sarge was down there, and I guess he was a golf director, and I introduced myself. And Sarge, 1960, when they started building this base, I had worked out here for about 3 or 4 weeks before we got our orders, and I said, I'd like to play this golf course. And he gave me the keys to a golf cart and said, go ahead. So I played the golf course.
Got to see how good you did the job
Yeah, it
on
was a beautiful golf course. Military has some great golf courses.
Yeah, you did a nice job on it, apparently.
Yeah, they have some great golf courses. They really do.
When you were in boot camp, did you qualify with rifles? When you were
we did,
training?
yeah. We had qualified. Of course, as you know, the Air Force is not combat. It's not a combat unit, or we were not in a combat unit.
No, but
we did have to qualify with rifles.
What rifles did you use back in the 60s?
It's kind of hard. I guess it was an M1. I really
was it the Grand?
I really don't remember. I only did it one time. One day he was out there shooting.
So you just more or less learned to fan fire.
Yeah,
and really qualify.
They had the targets, and you put so many. If you got so many, you know, in the target, then you qualified. And that was only one day we did that.
And then you never didn't have to learn manual of arms or
inspection
arms.
We did. There was some tests,
basic,
some basic.
A lot of basic things on that.
Arms. Yeah, it was mainly just. Boot camp in Air Force was mainly just, conditioning, learning discipline, and taking responsibility for whatever your actions are when you get out.
But now after you graduated and you went into your regular unit, didn't you have to qualify with the weapons every year or every 6 months? You never really had to?
No, we did not.
Because I talked to other people I know that are in the Air Force, and they say now that you do have to qualify.
Oh, you do then? Yeah.
Yeah, so now, I guess, changing with the times. So we're going to take a quick break. And we'll be right back and talking to my host. So get a cup of coffee and join us. We'll be right back.